think right now is because the US is so divided, and I love it because I'm English and I've had a green card for the last 10 years, so I can pay taxes, but I can't vote. So I can always step back and say, I don't have a dog in the fight, but I have an opinion right now. So I have a lot of friends who are very extreme either side, and I'm so sick of just all the talking about pet peeves earlier. People giving opinions without actually having too much knowledge. They're just reading a little meme on social media and then regurgitating that meme. They have no idea about if it's true, what about the other side. And life, as we all know, is it's almost every issue is some shade. It's not black and white, it's always some shade of gray, somewhere in the middle. And have you guys ever wondered why, right now, the US is so politically divided? There's this vitriol on both sides, and it's worse than I've ever seen. I've been here nearly 20 years in the US. And, you know, this group is, from what I heard, you know, you guys are very, you know, with the state, you guys are very liberal. And why I would have to say I would always come down as a Republican regardless of the idiot who's the figurehead right now. I'm a good person. You're obviously lovely people, as I know. But how can we be so politically divided? So if you look at the media, newspaper and print media here, you have liberal and conservative. You can see it's incredibly skewed, both entertainment and newspapers. So you can see here. And it never used to be like this. For me, it blows my mind. So I come from England. The BBC is pretty neutral. Here you can watch CNN and then Fox News, and it's like they're talking about the same issue, but it's like two different issues. Liberalism started as a peaceful protest, but now they're so militant to anyone that disagrees. Anyone is racist, sexist, xenophobic, regardless of if you actually are. It's just if you disagree with their opinion. Entrepreneurs and businessmen, I come from a finance background, I'm an entrepreneur, I consider they're the people that actually make our lives better. They're not entertainment, they're not just commentating on our lives, they tend to be much more balanced. So you can see here you have agriculture and building and construction. So you can see they're a little bit skewed to the conservative side, but they're a lot more balanced than the others. So same thing. So this is a little bit more conservative, but quite fairly balanced. Sorry, I got a lot of props today. So you will find out in the next few minutes why good people are divided by politics. Like the great Spinoza, the philosopher, said, I have striven not to laugh at human actions, nor weep at them, but just to understand them. Does anyone know who this lion of history is?
Hemingway.
No.
Oh.
Anyone?
Oh, the other guy.
Sorry? Anyone?
The psychologist.
Freud. No. Close. He is French.
Oh.
Sartre.
Foucault.
Guys, you're such an educated group of people. I'm also excited. That is Victor Hugo. He spent a lifetime fighting for the downtrodden. He's one of the greatest literary geniuses of our humanity's history. He was banished he had to leave France. He was banished in the island of Jersey off the English coast for 19 years for his troubles. But he defied the kings and he made a real difference in the French Revolution and actually gaining rights for people. You should all read Les Miserables next time you're on vacation. It's an incredible book. But we're going to come back to him. In general, liberals value care and fairness more than any other moral foundation. But conservatives value care and fairness, but also loyalty, authority, and sanctity. So they have more, psychologists say there's 5 moral foundations, and conservatives tend to be more spread among the 5, whereas liberals tend to be very skewed on care and fairness. But let's just take one of these. Let's take fairness, for example. Liberals want everyone to be fair. They want equality of outcome. Conservatives want fairness, but the fairness of a Protestant work ethic. People who work hard should keep the fruits of their labor because they work for it. As one conservative said, I vote conservative because I'm against other people, authority figures, taking the money that I work hard for and giving it to a welfare-collecting, non-producing Democrat. Now, Victor Hugo was important because hundreds of years ago, European monarchs crushed all their subjects before them. They could do whatever they wanted. They were above the law. And the average person had no rights and no voice. But in 2018, things are fairly different. In the West, we do have, basic rights. But taken to its logical conclusion, equality of outcome that the liberals are kind of moving towards is the death of any society. It leads to communism, which is great in principle, but we've all seen how it turned out in practice. So I've spent extensive periods of time in 3 communist countries. I taught English in Moscow, I vacationed in Venezuela for a month, and then I spent a month boxing in Cuba when I was young. And how many of today's ill-informed youth, a lot of high school and college people, espouse socialist ideas but have actually been to a socialist country? Likely none. When I was in Cuba as a young single man, I was in a line at a nightclub, and I started chatting with a pretty girl in front of me. She told me, when she found out I lived in Chicago, she really wanted to talk to me about the communist system. She wanted to educate me. She said she could earn more as a hooker with a rich businessman in a long weekend than she could earn as a year as a state teacher. So what she did, because she was a classy girl, and she didn't want to sleep with guys for money, she went to Italy and she coached volleyball for a summer, and then she lived like a queen the rest of the year. She made way, way more in a few weeks teaching in Italy than she'd ever made in Cuba. And that's the problem here. It's one of motivation. Socialist great downfall. In the US was great because in the earliest 20th century, America had a very little safety net, very low taxes and small government. They encouraged entrepreneurship. So the risk takers and the entrepreneurs left Europe where the rules were very stringent and which pedigree and nobility was passed down from generation to generation, and they moved to a country in which there was so much more upside they could create something with the sweat of their brow and hard work. And the US flourished. That's why the US is the greatest country in the world, in my humble opinion. I guess I would say I'm extremely socially liberal. I firmly believe that you can do anything in the privacy of your life if you're not harming others. And I think most people in 2018 are very socially liberal. But I'll always be financially conservative. I'll always want smaller government, less taxes, less economic control from above. I work hard, I want to decide how I spend my money, so I want the fairness of the Protestant work ethic. Furthermore, if faced with a choice between Hillary and Trump, I would always come down on the side of the one who, the great philosopher, one of my personal heroes, Nassim Taleb, he wrote The Black Swan, what he said has skin in the game. You see, Hillary was against gay marriage until the pendulum of popular opinion swung against her. She has no weight behind anything she says. I don't trust a word that comes out of her mouth. She would say anything to get elected. She's a typical politician. She has no skin in the game. A lot of people argue that Trump was a failed businessman. But if true, which it is true, he's declared bankruptcy, it actually props up the argument that he was real. He wasn't a politician. He was a real person. His deficiencies, his scars, his character flaws, of which we all know he has many, as opposed to his opponent, actually shows he has skin in the game. So, I'm well over my 7 minutes, I'm aware. So I'm going to end with a plea. Don't just listen to your tribe. We have a tendency to always join our team, our tribe, whether it's race, sex, religion, the Bears, whatever the other, I don't know American sports, but our teams. We're always getting behind teams. It's a very ancestral thing that we all have, this tribalism. But don't just echo their views without thinking for yourself. Don't sever friendships because you have diverse political beliefs. And go and read Les Miserables, because it's one of the greatest books ever written. The political spectrum is not black or white, like everything. It's some shaded gray. And it's up to us to choose which shade to believe. All the good people will choose to be, and good people will choose to be on the other side. And this world today needs more bipartisanship and less division. Think of scale-free political universalism. So for myself, at a Fed level, I'm libertarian. At a state level, I'm Republican. At a local level, I'm Democrat. And at friends and family level, I'm a socialist. If that saying doesn't convince you of the fortuitousness of left and right labels, I don't know what else will. In the immortal words of Rodney King, can't we all get along? Again, I'll repeat that because I want to end with something positive. Can't we all get along? Thank you.